you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pat. I saw Secretaries Reich and Riley earlier, and I stood briefly for a moment with them. I said, now we're all together, the three R's, Riley, Reich, and wrong. Oh, I can spell. But I'm very pleased that the President and the Secretaries, Reich and Riley, and as well as invited guests, are here in Virginia for what I consider a very valuable conference on one of the most important initiatives of this administration, really of any administration. And I applaud the President's efforts to provide summer jobs for the youth of America. And I'm especially interested in the focus on academic enrichment and not just make work. In Virginia, we know that the summer job program will enhance the capability of our youth, and planning has begun to serve some 20,000 youth in the public sector and an equal number in the private sector. The summer program is an opportunity to have employment and training administrators, along with educators and the private sector, working together to give our youth a chance to learn while working, an opportunity to channel their energies in a productive manner, and an opportunity to begin a new vision for training our youth for a much more competitive workforce, not in terms of just this country, but a global workforce. However, we can't afford to stop with this summer program. There must, and that has to be, a strong linkage between the summer program and the school programs, as well as other year-round programs. Without continuity and focus, our summer program will have been for naught. And there is no greater resource than our young people. Tomorrow belongs to them, and we should do all that we can to ensure that they possess all of the skills that they will need and require to deal with tomorrow and to be competitive and to be productive. And the Summer Youth Program represents one small part of our challenge to create productive citizens in the future. And so I want to thank President Clinton for choosing Virginia as the site of this valuable conference. I pledge our support to help this program be brought fully to fruition. The President was saying earlier that he has been in the job about 80 days. And he said, you know, it's a little different now from being governor to being able to get the things done a little more quickly. I said, oh yes, to myself. I knew it was far more easy to do things before I became governor. But you know, the difficult things are always going to appear more difficult. Easy things are never going to be recorded in the annals of history or the archives of our advancement as far as this nation is concerned. And to the extent that this administration has chosen to tackle the difficult things, to take that which others have avoided, and not to feed the pap and the pablum to the American people and to suggest to them that all is well, when in fact all was wrong. And that's why this administration has to be applauded. And that's why the people of America are wanting to see this young president do well, because they know that he matches his visionary words and zeal with the opportunities for advancement through the deeds that he hopes to see perpetrated throughout this entire nation to affect the lives of our posterity. That's why I know I speak for all of you when we say we welcome the conference here. We would like to be able to say that we were here at the beginning, but when the roll is called up yonder, we want any numbers of others to likewise join us in the fray. God bless you. Thank you for coming to Virginia.
We definitely agree with Governor Wilder. Our next speaker, gee, when I think of him, I immediately think of the Work of Nations. And I keep on saying, I'm going to finish that book, I'm going to finish that book. It's not that it's not a good book. Just have so many things to read, like those amendments and stuff like that. But we do know that our next speaker has been a friend of the president for 25 years. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He's a prolific writer. And I believe that he's right on the money when it comes to analyzing the problems, at least the employment problems in America. And I think I can only encourage him to create those high-performance jobs, high-paying jobs real quick, because we need them desperately. Who am I talking about? Well, of course, Secretary of Labor Bob Reich. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Pat. Now, I ask you honestly, do I look like big government? It's completely mythological, all of this. Actually, sometimes I stand behind a podium and all people see is, hear my voice, a disembodied voice, and they see hands out at the sides waving. I brought my, unlike most politicians, I have a strong platform to stand on here. I'm delighted to be here. Pat, thank you for that little book plug. I think, you know, my book is, I've often said my book is the kind of book that once you put it down, you can't pick it up. I want to put this summer of opportunity in a little bit of context for you, because as many of you are aware, in fact, I think as all of you are aware, this is what we are experiencing is something very unusual in the economy right now. And I have watched the economy for many, many years and written about the economy, and this is a very unusual period of time. It is what we are calling a jobless recovery. Now, that's a little bit of an oxymoron. How can you have a recovery without jobs? Well, you can't have a recovery without jobs. We are stuck at 7% unemployment for the, in fact, we've had 7%.
A tough act to follow. Mr. President, distinguished guests, colleagues, as a business person and a community leader, I'm happy to be here as part of the Summer Challenge. Our plans for the 1993 Summer Youth Program in Louisville and Jefferson County, Kentucky are ready. We have more than 9,000 at-risk youth in our community, and we helped about 2,000 last year find summer jobs. When this economic boost gets through Congress, we will serve at least 3,000, maybe more. Our kids are ready too. Those from last year who participated will come back, and they have brought others. We are eager to continue what we began in Louisville and Jefferson County 5 years ago. We will build on our success. We have a variety of programs in our community for youth age 14 to 21. These are funded with both public money and private money, and they provide incentives for our kids to stay in school and explore a career at the same time. Success for many kids is a long shot, but you know, we're from horse racing country, and our community leaders are risk takers. 5 years ago, Louisville's community leaders recognized that we must find a way for our kids to stay in school. We need to connect them to the business community, and we need to bring them back into our community as part of our economy after their education. We faced our challenge just a short distance from the twin spires of historic Churchill Downs. We wagered that if we invest heavily now in our youth, before they drop out of school, we will have no need to support them in years to come. We liked those odds, so we took them. The Louisville Education and Employment Partnership is paying off for us handsomely. We leveraged our strengths, our partnership. We have the strong leadership of our mayor, Jerry Aberson. On behalf of every young person who will get a chance this year because of your commitment to our summer youth, we thank you. We in Louisville are in the starting gate for the Summer Challenge of 1993, and so are our youth. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now, my grandson Joseph is not going to believe this. He said to me, "Nana, are you really going to see the president? The real president?" "You bet I am. But do I get a bonus this day?" I looked at my colleague and said, "He's Bugs Bunny's daddy." Actually, it is my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the board of Time Warner, the multi-billion-dollar friend of youth. Time Warner has as its chair a gracious and innovative man who has been with them for 21 years. He's the father of 5 kids of his own, so he knows all about youth. And he's not really Bugs Bunny's dad. They're the same age, he told me. They're brothers, I think. Let me have the pleasure of introducing to you Mr. Gerald Levin, chairman of Time Warner. Thank you very much.
Nancy, that was very nice. I thought you were going to ask me, "What's up, Doc?" Call to America's corporations to step up our efforts by creating summer jobs for economically disadvantaged young people. I know when I picked up the paper very early in his presidency and
Now I have the honor of introducing a man who has inspired me a great deal and who has planted hope in me and every young person in America for a better tomorrow. The President of the United States, Mr. Bill Clinton.
you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. The speech that Octavius gave says more than anything I will be able to say today about why it's important to give all of our young people a chance to get a work experience and to continue to learn, to merge the nature of learning and work, why it's important to honor the efforts of people like Jerry Levin and Nancy Combs and Pat Irving and all of those who are here. I want to thank the Secretaries of Labor and Education and all the people who work with them for sponsoring this, my good friend Governor Wilder for being here and for speaking, and all the business and local community leaders from the city and county and state level from around America who are here. This has been a pretty fun day. I loved hearing the young people sing. It was music to my ears because it is their future that we are really struggling about. You know, a year and a half ago, I began the quest to seek the presidency because I was concerned about their future, because I believe that our country, which had always been a beacon of hope for the young, had too little opportunity, was too divided among ourselves across lines of income and race and region and other ways, without a vision to take us into the future. I entered with the hope that together we could create more opportunity and insist on much more responsibility from all of our people, that in the process we might recreate the best of America's community, knowing that together we could always do more than we could individually, and that we might secure our future. All of you here today are committed to that. The 1,000 jobs that Jerry Levin has committed Time Warner to is symbolic of the commitments made by many of the private sector people who are here and those who are around the country. The work that Nancy Combs does and the successes of all the young people like those on this stage, and especially the eloquent statement by Octavius Jeffers, all those things show that together we know what we need to do and we're on the right track. Last July, when I was traveling across America's heartland in my luxurious bus, I visited Seneca High School in Louisville, Kentucky. And there I met young people and business people who were participating in the Louisville Education and Employment Partnership. I saw what Nancy Combs talked about today. I saw how the young people were making an extra effort to succeed both in school and at work. I saw, as I have seen many times in my own state, the principle illustrated that Octavius talked about, that for millions of American young people, it is really an impediment to both their learning and their ability to be good workers to draw a sharp dividing line between what is work and what is learning. In the world in which we are living, the average young person will change the nature of work 7 or 8 times in a lifetime. We must learn to merge the work world and the learning world much better. And we must determine that all of our young people need the opportunities that some of them have had showcased here today. Whether you're in business or in government or in education, you know that we have a big job to do when it comes to building a future that really honestly includes opportunity for all of our people. There are still a lot of people who say, well, things are pretty good here in Washington, everything's fine. The best thing that we can do about this whole thing is nothing. They all have jobs. All the people who say that. They all have health insurance. They all have a pretty good education. They all have a pretty secure knowledge that they'll be okay no matter what happens. I say that not to be either political or unduly critical, but to point out that one of the great challenges of this age for every advanced nation, everyone, is to fully develop the capacities of all of its people and then find work for them to do. All the European countries have higher unemployment rates than we do, but also stronger support systems for the unemployed. The Japanese unemployment rate has been going up. They're going to adopt a stimulus that, even if you count it in its most rigorous terms, is 3 or 4 times bigger than the one that I have proposed to create jobs. In West Germany alone, the unemployment rate is now about as high as ours. This is a big problem for an advanced nation. It costs a lot of money to add an extra employee. There's a lot of pressure from low-wage producers in other countries that are growing their own economies and trying to provide new opportunity for their people. But it is especially important for America for 2 reasons. One is we have a whole lot of folks, unless we move aggressively, will not have the education and skills we need to be competitive and productive in a nation like this. And the second is, even if we educate them all, if there aren't jobs, they will be robbed of the fruits of their educational labors. People need to be able to work in this country. We've always had some unemployment, and indeed some of it is normal. You've always got some people leaving jobs and moving around the country and doing first one thing and another. We have now, at this moment in our history, the necessity for all big organizations, including the government, to re-examine the way they are organized and to ask whether there are too many people working at some kinds of jobs. But in the whole, we must still be able to create jobs in a country like America, to provide people with the chance to work. It's going to be difficult for me to make the welfare reform proposals that I will make to Congress in the next couple of months. It's going to be hard for me to make those work if at the end of all this work to get off welfare, there isn't a job. So we have 2 tasks. One is to develop the capacity of the American people to perform without regard to race or income or the circumstances of their birth. The other is to make sure that there are some opportunities for them to bring to bear for their talents and to be rewarded with a paycheck. It is a great challenge. I do not pretend that all the answers are simple, but I know if you want to ask the American people, all of them, to be more responsible, if you want to recreate a sense of community in this country that bridges the lines of race and income and region, you have got to have opportunity in that mix. A part of our vision for America has to be a future for every young person in this country who's willing to play by the rules and work hard and strive for the end of the rainbow. There has to be something at the end of that rainbow. And that is what we are basically here to talk about today. What can we all do as partners, recognizing none of us can do it alone, to develop the capacities of our people to succeed wherever they live and whatever their background? And then what can we do to make sure that there's something there for them to do? The summer jobs program we're discussing today is an integral part of that plan because it will promote the values of work and opportunity and fairness and community. It will put the people first, and it does have a partnership between the public and private sector. I said when I addressed the United States Congress in February on this program that I would seek to create about 700,000 extra summer jobs from government sources and then challenge the American business community to meet that target so that we could create more than 1 million new summer jobs over and above what had been created before. Many, many people have responded to that challenge. And Jerry is just a shining example of that which has been replicated in this room and around the country. People who are going to do more than they otherwise would in the private sector to give young people a work experience. And it is terribly important. I want to emphasize that this summer jobs program is part of an overall commitment to increase the capacity of the American people, from retraining defense workers who lose their jobs and other adults who need to acquire new skills, to improving the transition from school to work for young people who don't go to college but do need at least 2 years of post-high school training either on the job or in a community college or a vocational setting so that they can be competitive workers, making it possible for more people to go on to college who do want to go. All these things are part and parcel of a comprehensive plan. It's also important, as I said, that we create more jobs. The emergency jobs program that I asked the Congress to adopt would create 500,000 extra jobs over the next year and a half, and that would reduce the unemployment rate by 0.5%. It would also enable us to absorb more young people coming into the workforce in jobs that otherwise will not be created. It also will help a lot of cities and counties to invest in things that need to be done at the grassroots level. Projects long delayed, water projects, sewer projects, park projects, new industries, and particularly in small and medium-sized communities. A whole range of things that will improve the economy and improve the environment. The summer jobs program is an important part of that because we have tried for the first time through the work of the Labor Department and the Education Department and through reaching out to people like you to make this more than just a one-shot summer jobs program, to integrate it with private sector efforts, to hopefully replicate it in each coming summer, to move these young people into further educational opportunities, into further job opportunities, and to have a strong, meaningful education component to these summer jobs, something that the United States government has never fully emphasized before. A lot of these young people, as you well know, because they come from difficult backgrounds, because they go to school in difficult and challenging circumstances, need extra help in building their basic skills in math and language, in reasoning, and in other areas. And a lot of educational studies show that young people who have difficulty in school often forget as much as 30% of what they learn over the summer, and then that has to be repeated the next year. What we are trying to do here is to give people the opportunity to learn good work habits and to reinforce their learning skills and to put them together. And then hopefully over the next couple of years, if our entire program passes, to give every school in this country the opportunity to have a good work and learning environment. There will be more applied academics, more opportunities for people to learn and work during the school year, so that this will not simply be an isolated moment for these young folks, but will be a part of building a whole new educational experience, a whole new work experience, and moving on a pathway to a better future. The summer jobs programs are not designed to be make-work jobs. They're designed to make a future for the people holding the job. And that's what they will do. In the process, they'll help to build local communities, to strengthen local economies, to solve local problems. Real jobs, renovating housing, repairing public buildings, doing clerical works, providing nursing assistance in hospitals, supervising and training children at child care centers, and learning all the way. Challenging young people to learn while they earn, but letting them earn. You know, it's very difficult to make a case to people who have never seen opportunity on their own street that they should do this, that, or the other thing if there's no evidence of the opportunity that's at the end of the effort. I have not been sparing in going for the last year and a half into places where it isn't exactly popular to say it and say I wanted to reform the welfare system, I wanted to toughen child support, I wanted to require people to work. I was sick and tired of people being irresponsible in the use of guns on the streets, and I wanted to change all that. But if you're going to summon people to greater responsibility, you have to reward them when they do the right thing with opportunity. The young people we propose to put to work under our program will spend 90 hours learning basic skills such as math, reading, writing, either on the job or in the classroom. They will stretch their minds as well as work up a sweat. They will have a sense of accomplishment. It will literally be a summer challenge, but a challenge that will take them into a different life. And so I want to ask all of you to support this effort, even as I, as your president, support your effort. At the end of the summer, we will evaluate all the young people who participate. We'll see whether they, instead of falling behind over the summer academically, as too many young people do, they've stayed even or moved ahead. I suspect that they will. This summer, Secretary Rice and Secretary Riley and I will be visiting many of your communities. We'll really try to learn from you which of these efforts are working, what we should do next summer, how we can build it into what goes on during the school year, how we can build in our job training efforts and the works that we do with your companies to make sense of this whole thing so that we maximize the impact of the taxpayer dollar and your private investments as well. We want to honor the companies and the communities, the business leaders and the young people who do the very best jobs this summer. And again, I want to say to all of you in private business who have matched our effort, I thank you. And to all of you who haven't, and those across the country who may listen or learn about this event today, I want to implore other private employers to stretch a little bit to give other young people a chance to work this summer. I'm telling you, we cannot go through another 10 years when we don't give these children anything to say yes to. If we exhort them to do right, we've got to be able to reward them. When the other speakers were talking, I was sitting up here on the platform listening and reveling, and they got talking about work, and I got to thinking about all the different things I'd done to make a living in my life. When I was 13, I made a very foolish short-term business investment. I set up a comic book stand and sold 2 trunks full of comic books, made more money than I'd ever had in my life, and if I'd saved those trunks, they'd be worth $100,000 today. That does not mean young people should not be entrepreneurial. It just means that you can't foresee a generation ahead. I've mowed yards and cleared land and built houses and worked in the body shops and the parts departments of the car dealership, and I've done a lot of different things for a living. Some people say I got into politics to escape work. I learned something from every job I ever had. But I grew up in a generation where I literally did not know a living soul without regard to race or income who wanted to work who didn't have a job. I grew up in a generation when all you had to really say to people is, get an education and you'll be all right. You will get a job and you'll make more money next year than you did this year. Now I live in a generation full of people, most of whom don't make any more money in real dollars than they did 10 years ago, and they're working longer hours, and they're paying more for the basics of life, and we are now wondering whether we can create the jobs that these young people want. Now, I want to close by re-emphasizing these 2 things. Doesn't matter what kind of economic policies this administration pursues, or how much productivity increases there are in the private sector, if young Americans don't get a good education, don't learn how to work, and can't be productive, those jobs will not be created in this country. Machines will do the work, or the work will be done offshore by people who have the same skill levels and can work for a third or a fourth or a fifth the wages. So nothing we can do economically will matter unless we build the skills and capacities of America's workforce. And anybody that pretends otherwise is just kidding. On the other hand, we need to be honest. Every wealthy country in the world, including the United States, is having difficulty creating jobs. If I knew everything that needed to be done, I'd be glad to tell you, and we could just call off the whole deliberations of Congress and everything else. I don't have all the answers, but I know this: doing nothing is not the answer. And so, the jobs program that I have presented to Congress, with the summer jobs, with the money for the cities and the counties, through the community development program, with the infrastructure money, is a small part of a big budget. It is an attempt to engage in an experiment to see whether or not, with the economy recovering in terms of corporate profits, we can give a little goose to it give opportunities to young people, create 500,000 jobs, and maybe get the engine going again. Most of the jobs in this program are going to be jobs in the private sector, not government jobs, even though it's government money. And the lion's share of the work in rebuilding the American economy obviously will come from the private sector. That's the kind of system we have, and it works pretty well. But this is the challenge we have. So I ask all of you here today to support the Summer Jobs Program, to ask your friends and neighbors to support it, to go back home and ask your employers to make a little extra effort, to do what you can to help me pass the funds to create the 700,000 jobs that the United States government should create this summer, so that together we can have this partnership. Because more than anything else, we have to give a future that our young people can believe in. We need to send them a message that here in America, if you study hard and work hard, if you obey the law and contribute something to your community, you'll be rewarded by your country. You can build a future from your own dreams. That has always been the promise of America. Together, that's what this summer of challenge needs to be, a reaffirmation of the promise of America for so many young people to whom that promise has been an illusion. We can make it a reality. Thank you very much.